thinking, wait, didn't we talk about this last week? Didn't we, what's that, or not last week, but like a couple of days ago? We did. I'll explain it all to you, what's going on. It's episode 250, well, 4, but I'm calling it 253B, as I've sometimes done in the past when there's been issues. What's going on, folks? Do it again! It is Thursday, April the 25th, 2024, 7:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. And yeah, we're going to be talking about this again, but I'm not going to take nearly as long, or as long to get all my points out because, well, I've kind of already done this, so I'm warmed up. But it's an important topic. All right. It's an important topic because, okay, so here's the situation. So a few days ago, I did episode 253 of McRae Live, and I talked about what we're talking about here tonight. And, but I showed a clip, and I got dinged for copyright, and the thing was taken down. And what happened is that I woke up in the morning, not yesterday, the day before, I think it was. I woke up and there were quite a few DMs that were like, "Hey, Dave, I just want to let you know that your show's gone. Like, it's gone. I'm not sure what's happening. I was really looking forward to watching it, or I was in the middle of watching it and all of a sudden it disappeared, or, whatever the case is." So, so not everybody had a chance to see it because it wasn't up long enough. I think after the stream was done, it was only up for maybe like, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours. It wasn't up for very long. So there are quite a few people that haven't seen it. I don't know if this show is going to get any traction tonight in terms of live viewers, because there could be quite a few people that are like, "Oh, he's doing that again. I'll pass." And I understand. I totally understand. But I wanted to have it up on the channel because it is, it's something I know a little bit about being, just a little bit, being an actor myself, and it's an interesting topic because there are things that I agree with in terms of what, these three are demanding. And then there's things that I don't agree with at all. But I think I spoke for about an hour on this before I jumped over to the chat room the other night. I am not going to be speaking for an hour here today on this topic. I don't think, although famous last words, we're already 5 minutes in and I haven't even started. But I do want to talk about it. And this time, I'm going to be, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to give you sort of the cliff notes and give you the rundown a little bit. And so what the situation here is this. So as we know, at CinemaCon, I believe it was there, Blumhouse had announced that they are working with Lionsgate, and they are going to be rebooting the Blair Witch Project, reimagining it, rebooting it for a new generation. So that tells me that there will be a new maybe direction for the story. I don't believe, although I stand to be corrected, that this is a legacy sequel. I don't think this is a legacy sequel, although you never know. But that's not the impression I'm getting from the information coming out of CinemaCon, coming out of Blumhouse, coming out of Lionsgate. I don't think this is a legacy sequel. I think this is really a reboot, a reimagining, a remake. Okay, because a remake is really a reboot, but a reboot isn't necessarily a remake, right? A reboot, you're just rebooting the franchise. You're not necessarily remaking. But I think this is a remake. And whether it's going to be found footage or whatever the case is, who knows? But that's sort of where it was. And when that news came out, it wasn't long after that the three actors, Heather Donahue, who goes by a different name now, Michael Williams, I believe, and Josh Leonard, came out and made a joint statement supported by the original filmmakers, all right, the original directors of the Blair Witch Project. And the three actors feel that, we feel we've been kind of gypped. We feel we've been kind of, we have some demands for Lionsgate. That we would like them to follow through on. And okay, now it's important to remember that Lionsgate was not the company that distributed the original Blair Witch Project in 1999. That was Artisan Entertainment. They are defunct. They no longer exist. Lionsgate essentially bought them out in 2003. And by doing that, they received all of whatever, catalog that Artisan had. They got it all, including the Blair Witch Project. So Lionsgate has owned the Blair Witch Project, the rights to the Blair Witch Project, since 2003 for 21 years. But they were not involved in any way, shape, or form when all this was going down, whether there were contracts being signed and, the original Blair Witch, whatever the hell was going down in 1997, really, because the movie was shot in the fall of 1997. Then it went into post-production. It was made for $60,000. You tack on maybe another $60,000 for post-production. You can find out this information that's out there. They played the festival circuit and all that kind of stuff. And, it is what it is. And so, and at that time, Heather Donahue, Michael Williams, and Joshua Leonard were unknown actors. They were nobody. They were not A-list stars. They were not even union actors, as far as I know. So they did not have any representation at all, or at least anybody looking out for their best interest. And, we'll talk more about that here in a second. But just to recap what those demands are that the three actors want Lionsgate to come through on is the following. Number one, retroactive plus future residual payments to Heather, Michael, and Josh for acting services rendered in the original Blair Witch Project, equivalent to the sum that would have been allotted through SAG-AFTRA had we had proper union or legal representation when the film was made. So right there, they're not saying they didn't have any representation. They're classifying it as proper union or legal representation. Okay. There are a lot of people out there that don't know their asses from their elbows, so maybe that's true. Number two, here we are here. Number two, meaningful consultation on any future Blair Witch reboot, sequel, prequel, toy, game, ride, escape room, etc., in which one could reasonably assume that Heather, Michael, and Josh's names and or likeness will be associated for promotional purposes in the public sphere. Note, our film has now been rebooted twice. Both times were a disappointment from a fan and box office perspective. Neither of the films were made with significant creative input from the original team. Okay. As the insiders who created the Blair Witch and have been listening to the fans, to what the fans love and want for 25 years, we're your single greatest, yet thus far unutilized secret weapon. And number three, the Blair Witch Grant, a $60,000 grant, the budget of our original movie, paid out yearly by Lionsgate to an unknown aspiring filmmaker to assist in making their first feature film. This is a grant, not a development fund, hence Lionsgate will not own any of the underlying rights to that project. And that was a public statement from the actors. And then, of course, the directors of the film went on to say, as we near the 25th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project, our pride in the story world we created in the film produced is reaffirmed by the recent announcement of a reboot by horror icons Jason Blum and James Wan. While we, the original filmmakers, respect Lionsgate's right to monetize the intellectual property as it sees fit, we must highlight the significant contributions of the original cast, Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Mike Williams, as the literal faces of what has become a franchise. Their likenesses, voices, and real names are inseparably tied to the Blair Witch Project. Their unique contributions not only defined the film's authenticity, but continue to resonate with audiences around the world. And of course, that is, they say here, we celebrate our film's legacy, and equally, we believe the actors deserve to be celebrated for their enduring association with the franchise. Sincerely, Eduardo Sanchez, Dan Myrick, Greg Hale, Robin Cowie, and Michael Manello. There you have it. Okay, so before we jump over to something I want to mention here in a sec. Where are we here? Hang on a sec. There it is. Okay, so, they have come forward and they have, these are their demands. So, at the time, nobody knew, right? Nobody knew that this was going to be the cultural phenomenon that it was. Nobody knew it was going to be the highest grossing independent horror movie in motion picture history. Still one of the biggest, highest grossing independent films of all time. It made nearly $250 million at the worldwide box office in 1999. I mean, adjust that for inflation, you're probably well over $300 million. And so, nobody knew that. And this was an audition that Heather said that she auditioned for from Backstage Magazine. There's a Backstage website now, but back in those days, it was a magazine that would be released, once a week, I think it was, or once a month or something. And you could skim through it and sift through it and find auditions for basically, low budget indie movies and things like that. And Heather herself on record has said that we never thought it was going to be anything. I mean, we thought it was just going to be this little feature film to get your feet wet. She was in theater. It wasn't, they were literally nobodies. They were literally nobodies, and they didn't have proper legal rep. I don't even think they weren't. They were not SAG-AFTRA, because if they were SAG-AFTRA, none of this would have happened. So they did not have, they were non-union actors, and that's fine. Everybody's got to start as a non-union actor. Non-union doesn't mean that you're garbage. It just means that you've either chosen to stay that way and just, or you're first starting out. If you want to play with the big boys, and what I mean by that is if you want to be in feature films released at the studio level, you will eventually have to go union. You will have to become a part of SAG-AFTRA in the US, ACTRA here in Canada, whatever the case is. And so, or you can be part of both as well. So, and they were not. So there was nobody looking out for them. There was nobody asking the right questions. If they had proper legal representation, they would have had somebody that was looking out for their best interests, somebody that was asking the right questions. When Eduardo Sanchez and Mike Myrick? No. I forget his name now, Mark Myrick, when they came forward, here's what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. If they were properly represented, then their agents or their managers or, their lawyers or the union would have been like, hey, okay, this is really cool, but what's the goal here? Like, what is the goal of this movie? Is this going to be just what Heather Donahue thought it was going to be? We'd get a copy on VHS. We could show our family and friends at holiday time and, oh, look, this cute little thing I did. And that was it. It's just for your portfolio to get your feet wet, to, kind of gain experience. If they had proper rep, they would have been asking these questions. Well, what's your goal with the Blair Witch Project? And if they said, well, our goal is to, do this, this, and this, and release it to festivals and things like that, then they would have had representation that would have asked the right questions. Nobody would have been able to predict that it would have become, what it became, but they would have been able to at least drop a contract, have something in the contract that would have been able to protect the actors for a possibility, a potentiality of some sort of level of success, right? Depending on where the film was going to be submitted, or what is the likelihood that the film is going to be very successful based on the path of the trajectory of where of what these guys want to do with the movie. So there's a lot that they did not have. They did not have those things. However, there's something in the Variety article that I did not know, that you may not have known, that kind of makes me go, well, hey, that's show business, right? And as I mentioned on the show a couple of days ago that I did on this, that was taken down. If you're just joining me, this is not deja vu. Your eyes are not deceiving you. I did do this show a couple of days ago, but it got taken down because of copyright, because of something that was in the stream. So I'm here doing it again for those of you that didn't get a chance to see it and were very curious on my thoughts on it. So that's why I'm doing this show again. And that was this. Again, this is from Variety. So this is one of the actors says, Leonard said, that's Joshua Leonard from the movie, Leonard said that the actors who shot and improvised the independent movie over roughly a week on a shoestring budget, using their real names for their characters, each made $300,000 from a buyout of their ownership points on the film, which went on to gross $248 million worldwide. In 2002, the actors sued Artisan Entertainment for using their names and likeness in the studio's 2000 sequel, Book of Shadows: Blair Witch 2. Okay, now, I read that and I thought, well, as an actor myself who has signed many contracts in my life, I have signed many NDAs in my life, and I've had my agents look over contracts, and I've looked over contracts, and we've negotiated, rates and terms and residuals and payments and buyouts and all this kind of stuff. So I'm very familiar with the process and of how it works. And I can tell you that I can certainly tell you that they do not have a legal leg to stand on, even if this $300,000 buyout was not there. Because they did not have proper representation, Lionsgate doesn't owe them anything, really. I mean, this is just really what this is. Well, hang on. Before I get to that, let me tackle the $300,000 here. So I find this interesting because I look at this and I think to myself, well, you made your choice. You made your choice. A buyout is, we're going to pay you this lump sum so we no longer have to pay you anything ever again. That is what a buyout is. And if you agree to that buyout, right? If you agree to that buyout, then that's the agreement. That's the buyout. So we're going to pay you $300,000, right? We're going to a buyout of your ownership points on the film, so you no longer have any say, right? We're just going to give you a $300,000 buyout. I've been a part of many projects in my life where, you know, the studio or the advertising agency is like, well, instead of paying residuals, we're going to pay upfront here like this. We're going to have this big buyout, whatever the case is. There's been a couple of times where I've taken the buyout, and there's been a couple of times where my agents have been like, I think there can be more on the other side. You know, so... But if you agree to take the buyout, that's it. Like, you can't come back later and be like, oh, but it's so successful. And yeah, but you agreed to take the buyout. You know, if you didn't want you. Now, at that time, they were young, they were struggling, they didn't have proper representation. $300,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. Right? It's a lot of money. And when you're young and you're 25, holy fucking shit. And they worked for a week. And they didn't have to memorize any lines. They just had to know what they were supposed to say and make it up as they went along. You know, I mean, working for a week, getting, you know, over $250,000, that's not too shabby. Now, obviously, again, as an actor, I empathize, I can sympathize with the fact that they, you know, you look at what Blair Witch has become and all the money that was no doubt left on the table for, you know, for them. I understand. I can empathize with that. I mean, I've never been part of a project that has gone on to gross $250 million, but I've been a part of big ad campaigns, whether that's Walmart, Coca-Cola, whether that's, you know, big films like, you know, It Chapter 1, Lego Batman, The Descent. You know, I got a chance to work on a lot of these films in terms of their marketing. So, you know, but I've never been a part of something that, you know, I was in specifically, the actual production I was in, not part of the marketing, but actually in that, you know, it's got to. So, I mean, you know, I can only imagine how that must feel, right? Where you are sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, you know, look at all this. But then the breaks. I mean, this is the first time this has happened. It was a little nothing movie that nobody thought it was going to be anything huge. And Lionsgate doesn't owe you fuck all. Like, legally, they don't owe you anything. And that's not what the actors are suggesting here either. They have come forward. Now that it's the 25th year anniversary, they are backed by the filmmakers. The filmmakers have also come forward. There's no doubt the filmmakers have made a lot more than $300,000. I can tell you that. They maybe still be reaping the benefits of the Blair Witch Project. Maybe a John Carpenter thing. And I get paid. Who knows, right? But I can certainly tell you that it's a situation where I can empathize with that. And they have come forward. It's a 25th year anniversary. Let's see if we can make a bunch of noise here. Let's see how much noise we can make and see, you know, maybe Lionsgate might do something for us. And what they're basically asking for is retroactive residuals dating back to 1999. That's 25 years ago. SAG-AFTRA, well, SAG and AFTRA were two different things back in 1999. There was AFTRA and there was SAG, and then they merged somewhere around 2009, 2010, 12, maybe somewhere in there, I think. And, you know, there's been many collective bargaining agreements over those years as well. So where are we? How are we basing this on? They're not going to get that. They're not going to get that. Hey, it doesn't hurt to ask. And they're hoping that the fan base will drum up the support. But I can tell you right now that Lionsgate doesn't owe them that. And it is not like Lionsgate's a piece of shit if they don't, because they opted out for the $300,000 buyout. And that's the breaks. Now, have Lionsgate gone on since they purchased the rights to use their face and use their names? Yes, because that's the deal. Now, I can understand. See, it's a tricky situation because they use their real names, right? And of course, nobody thought it was going to be this huge thing. But as I said on the show a few days ago, before the show was taken down, they are not. It's important to remember, and it's important for the actors to remember, although I completely understand and I empathize. Like I do. I'm not knocking them. Like I totally get it. But I like to look at both sides of the coin, right? There's the performer part of Dave McRae, and then there's the producer part of Dave McRae. And so I try to look at both sides and try to give sort of a balanced kind of approach. And so I can totally empathize. Like, hey, if I was in their position, I'd probably be like, hey, maybe we could try to get a little stronger. Hey, it doesn't hurt, right? But then the producer side of me is like, well, yeah, but that's just kind of that's what's happened here. And so, you know, it's unfortunate what's happened in terms of, you know, what's happened, and they have been unable to reap all the benefits over the years, but they don't, they're not owed anything. And in terms of the real names, you know, it's a situation where, yes, it is your real names, but as I mentioned on the show a couple of days ago before it got taken down, it's not you, right? It's a fictionalized version of you. Jerry Seinfeld is not playing Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld. He's playing a fictionalized version of himself, right? Lou Ferrigno is not playing Lou Ferrigno on The King of Queens. He's playing a fictionalized version of Lou Ferrigno on The King of Queens because Lou Ferrigno doesn't really live next door to somebody named Doug Heffernan, right? And Jerry Seinfeld doesn't really live in a New York apartment and, you know, with a neighbor named Kramer. I mean, it's a fictionalized version of themselves. And so I understand how that can be problematic, and, you know, all three of them didn't go on to be huge stars or anything like that. This is their sort of claim to fame, and I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty damn cool if you ask me. But because it is your real names, that doesn't, like, so what? I mean, it's show business. It's show business. And I can empathize, but that's what you gave up. That's the buyout. That's what you knew when they offered you $300,000. When you were offered $300,000, you knew what you were giving up. And because you would have known what a buyout is. It's shut up money is what it is, right? We're going to give, no matter how successful this thing becomes. And sometimes it becomes so successful and you're like, oh, I left so much on the table. And then sometimes it's an absolute failure and you're like, oh, I didn't do too bad, you know, because the thing didn't really do anything at all. And I got $300,000. You know what I'm saying? That's the risk. That's the gamble. That's show business. And it's like that everywhere. It's not just with movies. It's like that with voice actors. I mean, we VO actors sign many different types of contracts for, you know, many different types of things. For a commercial, it's going to run for this long. Is it a commercial? It's going to be, you know, I mean, there's lots of things where it's like, you know, a commercial. There's some commercials that VO actors are reaping in the benefits years later because, you know, they're commercials that run for years and the voiceover is reaping it in, you know, just like taking it in, right? And then some commercials will run for 13 weeks and that's it. And then for whatever reason, that commercial is just huge and it hits the audience at the right time and the pop culture zeitgeist at the right time. And there's a quirky little actress in it or something and she's funky and fun. And then there's the voiceover. And for whatever reason, you know, the networks just reuse that commercial because it's relevant and it's current for a number of years. And oh my God, I mean, that happens too, right? So, you know, there's parallels, right? There's similarities but buyouts live in the VO world as well. And I've taken buyouts before and there's situations where I haven't because I've been advised not to. And so, I'm just saying that I think, you know, knowing that they took the $300,000 buyout to be so kind of like, well, you know, we deserve this. Well, you, in a perfect world, in a kumbaya world, in a do the right thing kind of world, it's morally right? Do the right thing morally, have a big heart. Sure, yes. If this wasn't show business and Lionsgate was your friend Bob, right? And Bob just hasn't done the right thing over the last few years. It's like, Bob, do the right. Bob, come on, Bob, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Give them, it's the right thing to do. Okay, sure. But this is show business. And when you accepted the buyout, however many years ago, that was you saying, whatever happens, I'm okay with not reaping the benefits of that. Right? And so, although I understand and I can empathize, there's no way that Lionsgate is going to go, okay, 25 years of retroactive residual payments, you got it. That's like millions of dollars, potentially. It's not going to happen. Now, what I do agree with, and what I think they should actually have, and I did mention this on the show a couple of days ago, which is, being consulted and being brought into the fold from this moment moving forward, right? If you watched my show a few days ago, you know that I said that. And, I could see that, especially if it's situations where they're using material and stuff from their movie. They don't need to, Blumhouse doesn't need to consult them on anything that has nothing to do with them. Right? But if it's something that has to do, like their faces, their names, whether it's, rides at theme parks or escape rooms or, toys, video games, whatever, yeah. You know what? Why don't you bring them into the fold now? I could see that, have them on as consultants about how to utilize their characters because they know their characters better than anybody. And you know what? That could be a little bit of cheddar moving forward for these three actors, right? You can't get anything from the last 25 years because you agreed to the $300,000 buyout. So, but now moving forward is the 25th year anniversary. Blumhouse has got it. Maybe there's a door that can be opened and there's an opportunity for you guys to step in now and be like, hey, maybe we can help, even though, okay, it's not a legacy sequel. It has nothing to do with us. Okay. But hey, we got a lot of fans out there. Maybe we can come on board and help you guys and a little bit of something, money back, whatever the case is. Maybe there's room for that. Maybe, right? So, and they don't have to either, by the way. They still don't have to because, that was the agreement, right? So even if they didn't want to consult them, they don't have to because it's not Heather Donahue in The Blair Witch. It's a fictionalized version of Heather Donahue. It's not Joshua Leonard and it's not Mike Williams. Not the real them, right? So this idea that it's us, it's not. It's not. I mean, it is, but it's not, right? So, but that is something I could see. I could see Blumhouse, Lionsgate going, hey, you know what? We could use you. You need us. We might need you. Let's work together here on something. I could see that. That I'm like, sure. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Maybe from this point moving forward, there's some money to be made, right? We have to, re-enter into negotiations and now they're properly represented. I would assume that they're SAG. And so now they know now that, we got, we might be able to get, now we got proper representation. So that I agree with. Why not explore that, see what's going to happen. But the 25 years of retroactive residual payments, no, because that $300,000 was you agreeing to not worry about that. That's what that was. Even though you may not have known it and you were naive and you were young, I get it. I understand it. Totally understand it. I do. You didn't have proper rep. You were not SAG. I totally get it. But unfortunately, that's the reality of what's happening there, right? And then the $60,000 grant, I just think is again, a nice thing. Come on, Bob, do the right thing. Sure. But Lionsgate's not going to do that. They're not just going to give $60,000 away each and every year and not be able to have any ownership over it. It's just not going to happen. I know it's a drop in the bucket for a multi-billion-dollar company. I think they're a multi-billion, at least their revenue, I think is. Anyways, multi-million, we'll say, at the very least. I know it's a drop in the bucket, but it's the principle of it, right? I mean, they're just going to give $60,000 away and have no, like, I know it's a nice thing. It's like, oh, that's so sweet. That's the right thing. It's not going to happen. So the first thing's not going to happen and the third thing's not going to happen. But the second thing, that demand right in the middle, yeah, there might be something there to explore. But I can certainly tell you that they are not owed it. And I think it's important that a lot of fans realize that. I don't know how much traction this video is going to get. I realize that there's only 80 people in the room. And primarily probably because I, am talking about something that most people have already watched. But I think it's important that a lot of fans understand sort of the information that I've relayed here today, because, when you're just a fan and you're not in the industry or in the business or know how it works, you naively think that, and I've seen it in the comments. Yeah, give it to them. Fuck Lionsgate. And it's like, no. You don't know your ass from your elbow what you're talking about here. Lionsgate owes them fuck all. Like, they don't owe them anything. There is not a legal leg to stand on here. And Heather, Mike, and Josh are not saying there is. And neither are the filmmakers. And neither is Variety. It's not being promoted as that. There is no lawsuit here, okay? I'm just saying that I think there are some fans out there that think that it is like that, like somehow they're owed this money, like there was a breach of contract. No, they took the buyout. Each of them got $300,000, which is, not nothing for a movie you shot over a week, right? But nobody thought it was going to become the highest grossing independent horror movie in history. But that's show business. That's show business. And those are the risks that you take. If they had proper representation back in 1999, could they have done something different? Yeah, maybe, sure. But still, $300,000 for a movie you worked, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And so there is no legal ground here. They are not owed anything. If Lionsgate, for whatever reason, decided to retroactively give them each of them 25 years of residuals across all the meat toys and games and movies and, whatever, okay, but that's not going to happen. Now, they did sue Artisan Entertainment, as the article says, in 2000 for using their likeness and their images without their permission. And so this must have been at a time that this must have been before that $300,000 buyout, because they were able to sue them. They can't sue them right now, or the three of them would have sued Lionsgate years ago. So that tells you right there that $300,000 was before Book of Shadows. It had to have been, because if it wasn't, then what are you doing suing them? Unless because it's the sequel and there was a bit of a different thing there, 300,000 might have been just for this. There's a lot of variables and sort of legalese that could have been a bit different, but nonetheless, they did, and maybe that's where the 300,000 came from, was in and around that time. They said, okay, listen, we'll give you this money and it's a buyout and we can use it. That's probably actually what happened. It was probably in and around that time. And then they said, okay, instead of saying, no, we want to reap the benefits forever, they agreed to the 300K. So that's the way it is, folks. That's the reality. And I empathize. Like I said, the actor in me, I get it. I understand it. But I hope that fans out there, fans of the Blair Witch, their fans of Heather, Mike, and Josh, know that the probability is extremely low that that first demand of retroactive residual payments is going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you'll just have to hope for the best for the second part. Anyways, let's jump over to the, now that that's out of the way and I haven't shown any copyrighted material, so the show will not get taken down. I appreciate all of you who were, allowed me to go through this. I do think it's an important topic. And like I said, because of my experience, it's a topic that I know a little something about. And I just wanted to offer my 2 cents and just kind of put it out there. And unfortunately, the show was taken down the other day, but not anymore. Not anymore. Okay, let's go to the chat room and see what all you are saying. Let's do this, shall we? Let's do this. Okay, I know a couple super chats came in. We've got Josh McKenna sends in $9.99 and says, I'm excited for It's Me Billy Chapter 2. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I am too. How is post-production going for you and Bruce? It is going very well. Post-production on It's Me Billy Chapter 2 is going well. We are deep into it right now. The picture lock is being put together. The sound design is being assembled. Marketing material is being, assembled and prepared. Bruce and I, if you follow us on social media, you'll see that we've been posting some BTS stills from Chapter 2. We are starting to drum up that kind of, I know it's early and the film does not release till October, but it's the 50th year anniversary this year of the original Black Christmas. So we want to be able to drum up anticipation and excitement. And so we will be releasing more BTS photos and stuff over the next, weeks and months as we get closer and closer to the release of the movie. But very excited, and things are going very well. Lee the Machine Bowers sends in $9.99 and says, Dave, my man, hope all is well for you. For me, I'm sick and in bed rest. Oh no, there's a bug going around. Thankfully, don't have C19. That's good. Cheers, my friend. Hope you're doing good. Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate that, and feel better, my man. Feel better. Drink lots of juice and watch some nostalgic movies and eat some chips or something. I don't know. Andrew Stevens, one of our great mods and great members here, sends in a member chat and says, not to be an ass, but why in the hell you wait 25 years before doing this? Well, look, I have not followed the careers of Heather Donahue, who is now, I think her name now is Ray Hentz or something, REI or something like that. She changed her name a few years ago. And one of the reasons, she says, is primarily because of the Blair Witch Project. I have not followed the careers of these three at all. And I know that they've been in other things, but their careers never really took off to the likes of what they probably had hoped. Whether or not they rattled the cage at any other point through the last 25 years, whether you could go back in the archives and find an article in the Hollywood Reporter from 10 years ago or from, the 10th anniversary or the 5th. I don't know if this is the actual first time they are really making a go at this. I'm not sure. But the three of them are not strangers to being out in the public talking about it. I mean, they've been to conventions. They were at conventions for the 15th year anniversary in 2014. They've done conventions and panels and so, and interviews and talked about their experiences. So they are out there. I mean, it's not like they're completely shying away from it. And who knows, maybe, now that nostalgia is hip and cool and there's all these legacy sequels, not that the new one, it will be a legacy sequel, but it's the 25th year anniversary. They take a look, they're taking a look at back. They're older now, right? They're not that much older than me. I think they're in their late 40s, early 50s. So they're just a few years older than me. And so they are now, kind of maybe taking a look at their lives, and they're looking at just the multimedia and where their faces are shown and video. And they're just, maybe they're just like, wow, like look at all that money we left on the table. And it's like, well, yeah, that was the buyout. That's the agreement. That's the exchange. There would have been something they would have signed, right? And that's the agreement. I mean, this is not just a handshake. Here's, $300,000 in a handshake. I mean, it would have been legal. And so, maybe they just thought, well, there's nothing we can do. But the 25th year anniversary, they thought, wow, social media and maybe there's, if we make enough noise and the fan base really rallies behind us, Lionsgate will do something. Yeah, well, maybe they will. But it's not going to be 25 years of millions of dollars of residuals. I just don't see that because they don't have to. Why would they? Out of the goodness of their heart? Oh, okay, but this is show business. And again, I don't say that to knock these three. I have nothing against them. I don't know them. I'm sure they're great people. And they know this. I mean, they've been in the business a long time. They know this. But Lionsgate, they don't have to do anything. That was the agreement, right? So now I think they're just seeing what they can get. I think they're saying, well, why not? Let's see, right? We don't ask, don't get. And that's what I think is happening here, really, at the end of the day. I think that's what's happening. That's what I think is going on. Darth Loverboy turned loose says, you know why I hate Blair Witch movie? Because it started the whole stupid found footage thing. The worst thing that's happened in cinema ever. I categorically disagree. It did not start the found footage thing. It started it sort of in how we know it to be today, but it wasn't the first found footage movie ever. There was many found footage movies prior to that. Cannibal Holocaust being one. One of the more disturbing, famous ones. But the Blair Witch Project hit at the right time. And as I said, it's not really the found footage nature that's part of it, okay? But it's not really the found footage nature that was the reason the Blair Witch Project was so successful. Now, I say this again, and please understand, if this comes across as condescending or pretentious, I certainly don't, or condescending, really. If it comes across like this, I certainly don't mean it to be. Or pretentious, I guess it could. I don't mean it to be. But it's very important, and I'm not saying you, by the way, dude. I'm not talking about you specifically, okay? Loverboy there who asked the question. I'm talking about in general. It's very important for people to understand who are not old enough, okay, what it was like in 1999. Now, you may have been alive when the movie came out, but if you were 5 years old, you have no idea. You have absolutely unequivocally no idea of its cultural impact because you weren't old enough, right? And so to really have a grasp or have a sense of its impact, you probably would have had to have been born in at least 1990, 1980, like late 80s, right? You know, to be at least like 10 years old, 11 years old, to have a sense of that impact. The reason why the Blair Witch was so successful was because 50% of the audience thought it was real. And today, the younger crowd seems to think that's funny. Again, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in general. A lot of the younger crowd thinks it's kind of funny. Like how maybe when I was a teenager in the 90s, I thought some movies from the 60s were kind of funny and hokey and silly, right? It's all relative. And as I've mentioned many times on this channel, technology expands exponentially. And that simply means that we are growing, in a shorter period of time, we are becoming more technologically advanced. And in the internet in 1999 is not like the internet today. So if you've grown up in the digital age, in the smartphone age, right? And you, all you know, like if you became a teenager in 2009, I mean, you have absolutely no sense of a world where there is no social media, where there is no iPhone, or, you know, there is no, you have no idea what that's like. You see it in movies and you get a sense of it by watching Stranger Things, sure, but you have absolutely unequivocally no idea what it really is like and what the internet really was like at that time. The internet is a god compared to where it was then. And the internet then was a god to us in 1999 compared to anything we ever had, right? And so in 1999, there were no smartphones, you know, no social media. You know, it was literally email and some, you know, some sites, sure, and Yahoo and you know, and chain letter emails and you know, and MSN Messenger. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's all it was. You know, it was nothing like it is today, literally nothing. And movies were certainly not marketing online. Now, did they start doing it? Sure, you started to see a little bit, oh, I have a website or whatever, but it's not like it is now. Are you crazy? 1999 was still a year where the vast majority of us would open a fucking newspaper, flip to the back, and check the show times. 1999 was still the year where you weren't watching movie trailers online. The only spot you could, and I'm not saying it didn't exist at all. Sometimes a bootleg vid would come up on some creepy website that you'd have to go down, you know, the rabbit hole. But I'm talking about, like, literally, it just didn't exist. It did not exist. I was there. I was 20 in 1999. I remember it, and a lot of you were that age and older as well, and you do too. Nobody was watching trailers. It was not like, hey, it's Trailer Tuesday, and it didn't exist. The only time you ever saw an advertisement for a movie was in the fucking newspaper, a commercial on TV, or when you were in the movie theater watching the coming attractions. It was a very, very, very different world. And although it wasn't that long ago, because our world has grown technologically so fast in such a short period of time, 1999 is like 1949 to us in 1999. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's like. And so it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so nobody was using the internet to market movies. And the Blair Witch Project was one of the first to ever do it to the extent that they did it. And because of the naivety and because of the there's just nobody, I mean, you know, there's no like information there were so many people that were fooled. They thought it was real. They actually thought it was real. And the hype around it was insane. Go to the theater to watch the Blair Witch Project. This, you know, it's, oh my God, dude, have you gone to, did you hear about this movie? It was water cooler talk. It was recess talk in the schoolyard. It was in the cafeteria talk in high school. You know what I'm saying? Guys, have you seen did you hear about this movie that's coming out? It's about these fucking documentary filmmakers that disappeared. It's fucking crazy, man. Did you see the fucking ads for it? You gotta go fucking check this out. Like, that's where we were. That's where it was, right? Now, were there people that knew it wasn't real? Yes, because if you knew where to look, or if you paid close attention to, oh, the actors are at the premiere. But where do you see the premiere? It's not online, right? Oh, it's only if you caught maybe a snippet of some entertainment show, or if, you knew somebody who caught that thing, or if you happened to look at an entertainment magazine, if you happened to, the internet, that wasn't, now it's all over the place. It'd be in your fucking Instagram feed like that. Do we have to watch the Oscars today? No, because the second somebody wins, I get a tweet about it on Twitter. I see it on Instagram. I don't even need to watch the show. I don't need to watch the show. In 1999, did you have? Yes, you had to watch the show. You literally had to watch the show or read about it in the newspaper the next morning, because it was literally the only way to know who won and lost. Literally. So again, a very different world, right? And it's not even that long ago. So that is why primarily the Blair Witch Project was so gigantically successful, is because of this mystique that surrounded it being real. And it was still a time in the world where you could do that. And that's pretty fucking cool. You can't release a document. I'm not saying you can't, but it is highly unlikely that you could release a documentary today where people think it's actually real, because the internet, it's too it's too difficult. It's too difficult to hide things from people now, and to hide information from people now. There's so much fact checking going on, and it'd just be nearly impossible. And so, although I get what you're saying, that's why it was such a gigantic success. It wasn't because of Heather, Mike, and Josh, although they played a role. It was because people actually thought you died. And I worked at a movie theater when it came out. I've told the story before. I worked at a movie theater when it came out. I remember introducing it to the audience, so my memory of that time is very clear. And it was, now to your other point, it's sort of, what's ended up happening is I still believe the found footage subgenre is a largely untapped subgenre, believe it or not. The problem is that I think a lot of found footage horror movies don't do a good enough job at creating the illusion that it's real. So there's a difference, right? Some of the early paranormal activities do a pretty good job at creating that illusion. There's two different things, right? The Blair Witch Project, 50% of the audience actually did believe it was real. Nobody going to see Paranormal Activity actually believes it's real, because it's not marketed that way, right? But if they do a really good job at the production value and the execution of a found footage movie, they can create the illusion and almost trick the audience in that 90 minutes you're watching it into believing what you're watching is real. Even though consciously it's not real, subconsciously you're tricked, and it helps the viewing experience. They've done such a great job. Some of those first couple of Paranormal Activity movies were really good at that. The later ones, not so much. But it's really difficult to do that. It's really difficult to deliver a found footage movie that is genuinely scary, because it feels, even though it's not, it feels genuinely real. And that's tricky. That's very tricky to do. They're often overly produced, a little too polished. You know what I mean? And not very good. Super chat from Josh McKenna, $9.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, I'm glad you're going live twice this week. I'd like to go live more. I just want to make sure that when I go live, I have the time, and I have topics I'm passionate about talking about. I can't talk about it's got to be juicy stuff for me. I'm glad you're going live twice a week, trying to keep up my spirits. I had a friend who lost his battle with pancreatic cancer on Tuesday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Josh. My condolences to you and your friends' family. I'm really sorry to hear that. It's never easy to lose anybody that is close to you. And so my sincere condolences on that. That's too bad, man. Just surround yourself with positive people, and celebrate his life when you can. Andrew Stevens, $10, says marketing is the majority reasoning of movie hype. Just look how hyped Halloween 2018. The build was epic, same as it was 99 for Blair Witch. I don't know if I'd go that far because they're two different movies. I think Blair Witch had a lot more mystique and a lot more hype around it for the general movie-going audience. Non-horror fans were going to see the Blair Witch Project. Non-horror fans were going to see the Blair. You know, your cat's uncle's dog was going to see the Blair Witch Project. So because it was a cultural event. It was a cultural event because 50% of the people thought they were going to go watch people die, and so it was pretty crazy. The marketing for Halloween 18 was good, but I didn't think there was anything particularly. I think it was just the idea of there being another Halloween movie that was exciting. I don't particularly feel that the marketing for Halloween 18, the actual marketing, so the images, the promotional material, the promos, you know, the TV spots, you know, all that kind of stuff. I didn't particularly feel that it was, you know, incredible marketing. I mean, it was certainly out there. And I guess if you're a big Halloween fan, it definitely did its job to hype you up. But I don't know what it did necessarily for the general movie-going audience. Although somebody could say, oh, but David made $250 million. Blah, blah, blah. Well, sure, yeah, but it was also released in October. And there's a number of factors of why that movie made, you know, the money it did. But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, Andrew. I do. But the Blair Witch marketing was it was just so creepy. There was because here's the thing, because the internet in 1999 was, you know, again, I mean, we were all on dial-up still. You know, cable was just starting to kind of come in. There were lots of people that were still on dial-up. The internet was a largely unexplored void. Do you know what I mean? It still kind of is. But at that time, it was, what is this World Wide Web? What is this internet? You know, and it was still so mysterious. There was still a mystique around the internet at that time. So when you saw and heard these promos and saw this website of this, you know, these missing people, and it felt real because there was a mystique around the internet as well. And there's a mystique around this. And it was just at the right place at the right time. That's really what happened here. You know, the right place, the right time. You know, really, yeah, it was just, I don't think you could achieve that again. I really don't. But you are right that marketing is huge for a movie, for sure. It definitely is. It can make or break it. It can get people to go see it. It can turn people off. Josh McKenna, member chat, thanks, buddy, says, speaking of fake videos, have you seen videos of people pretending to be angry and scream and yell and break and destroy property? Yes. Yes, Josh, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see some of them are pretty good. Some of them are convincing. Like if you didn't know any better, you'd be convinced that it was real. But the vast majority, yeah, it's so, there's many videos I've watched, and I don't know if it's because I'm an actor or if I'm just astute to details, but there's been some videos I've watched where, you know, it looks pretty convincing for the first, like, you know, 30 seconds or something. And then there's something that happens. Either something, a line delivery, a look, a glance, something happens that feels either overcompensating, underutilized, bad. There's just, and I don't mean bad acting all around. I just mean something like there's a line that feels forced or something where I'm like, oh, there it is. And I'm like, no, it's fake. It's fake. And no, it's not. It's real. It's real. And then, you know, you do a bit of digging and you find out, oh, it's fake. You know what I mean? I remember this too, and this is because I'm a sound guy. Do you remember that? And this is going back a few years. Do you remember I believe it was a Gillette commercial, but the internet thought it was real, and it was a baseball. What's the baseball player's name? Not Eva Longoria. That's the actress. The baseball player who used to play for the Tampa Bay Rays, Longoria, I think his name is. There was an ad where he's being interviewed by a reporter, and he's standing on the side of the field. And there's nobody there, like it's a practice day, so there's no fans. And there's a ball that is apparently thrown or hit in his direction from batting practice, and he turns around and catches it at the last minute and throws it away. And he's like, keep it on the field, guys. He's like, whew. You know, do you guys remember that? I don't know if anybody remembers that, but, and And the internet thought it was real. And it looks real. You know, there's nothing, it looks pretty good, looks real. And I was watching it one day with headphones on, professional headphones, not little earbuds, professional headphones like these for mixing, mastering, voiceover, things like that. And Evan Longoria, thank you, Adam. Eva Longoria, Evan Longoria. And I was watching it. And what stood out to me, and this is before it was out there that it was fake, but what stood out to me was nothing I was seeing, but what I was hearing. And I could tell that the voice that came from one of his buddies was added in afterwards. The frequency didn't match. It didn't sound, as somebody who deals with sound, I'm pretty good at this. It did not sound like the, hey, what's going on? It didn't sound like it was coming from in the same environment. And I went, oh, yeah, no, that's for all intents and purposes, that's ADR. I can tell. And I'd put my life on it, 100%. No, you fucking stupid, McRae. No. Sure enough, it's now out there that, yep, it's fake. It's fake. It wasn't real at all. It was just a commercial for Gillette. You know, and I'm like, see, you know what I mean? And so, you know, but that was an audio thing. That was a sound thing. I could tell there was something in the mixing that just, it sounded, and it takes somebody who deals with this, you know, day in and day out to be able to pick it up. The average person wouldn't even know. But for me, it happens all the time. When I'm editing, like when I'm doing sound, because I do all the sound on, you know, I do all the sound on a lot of things. But when I'm doing sound for Billy 1, I'm doing all the sound, the mixing, the mastering, the designing for Billy 2. You know, I will often be listening back, not necessarily with my phones, but on my near field monitors, and there'll be something I'll hear and I'll go, oh, and it's so small. The average person, I don't even hear anything. And I go back and I go in there and I zoom up and I tweak it and I go in it and then I find it. I'm like, yeah, there it is. Little something there, you know, and I take it out. It's just years of being able to do it. I mean, I've been doing, you know, my software of choice is Adobe Audition, but I've been working with Adobe Audition since it was Cool Edit Pro. For those of you that are audio people, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I've been doing this a long time, even going back to college. So I have a trained ear, and I could tell that voice, whoever that was on the field, oh, what's going on? Oh, look. I was like, that doesn't sound like it's in the same space, in the same environment. It sounds like it's added in. And whether it was or not, I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't mixed properly. But that was the tipping point for me. So yeah, no, I you know, some of them are fun, but some of them are just, you know, there are a lot of people out there now. It's very easy to become famous, right? You know, it's very easy. You just fart in a jar and post it on Instagram and there you go. There you go. Warren Armour says, I think It's Me Billy 2 is being released soon. I think, not sure. Dave, he's been working hard getting it ready. Warren, you've been following me, right? You've seen the teaser? You follow me on social media? It's no secret that the movie is releasing in October, Warren. October. It is releasing on Friday, October 11th, 2024, to coincide with the 50th year anniversary of when the original Black Christmas was released here in Toronto. Now, Black Christmas was released in the US in December, but that's not where it premiered. It premiered in Toronto on October 11th. So although I have received a lot of, oh, you're releasing a Christmas movie around Halloween. Oh, good job, buddy. Yeah, well, the joke's on you, dummy, because if you knew anything, you'd know that we're releasing it on Friday, October 11th. And I'm not saying you, Warren. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about, I have had a few people leave certain comments, oh, way to go, buddy. And I want to be like, oh yeah, well, to you because if you knew anything about Black Christmas, you would know that it first premiered on Friday, October 11th in Toronto, the same day the Texas Chainsaw Massacre premiered, by the way, the original, in 1974. And so being that it's a Canadian horror film, we felt that, well, we will release ours on October 11th. And it's 50 years to the day. Friday, October 11th, 1974. Friday, October 11th, 2024. So 50 years to the day. Even the day is right. Not just the date, but the actual day, the day of the week. So very excited about that. Very excited about that. But that's when it's releasing, Warren. That's when it's releasing. That's when it was releasing. But yes, in the US, if you're American, because I know that there was a post in December where a lot of the outlets were like, 49 years ago this year, Black Christmas was released and it's December 20th or whatever it is. And I'm like, well, now, my American friends, technically it was first released in Toronto, October 11th. But yes, I do understand that the world revolves around the US. So yes, anything that, it's the way it goes. But but it didn't do well, right? It didn't do well. It was released in the US under the title Silent Night, Evil Night. And it did not do very well. Did not do very well. Let's see here. Dustin Pritchard said, watch Late Night with the Devil for the first time and love the setting and quality of 70s broadcasting and its tropes. And the gore elements and acting are good, but the ending is not great. I did like the movie. I did. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. I went to the movie theater to see it. There was nobody in there but just me. So it was kind of creepy. I'm just there alone in this theater watching Late Night with the Devil, but it is what it is. I thought maybe the devil was going to come out of the chair or something. I did like it. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't kind of what I was hoping it was going to be, but it was still pretty good, and I still enjoyed it for what it was. I have to judge it based on what it is, not what I had hoped it was, and that's a separate judge. And I did enjoy it. I just was hoping that it would go even darker and maybe focus more on the girl and her caregiver, I guess, as opposed to a lot of stuff before it. Although I do understand it's a late night show and it's a variety show and you have different people. I get all that. I get the setting, but and the story. But there's things on it that I would have done a bit different. But overall, I thought it was good. Like I said, I mean, if it's an indie shoot directed by two brothers, and I mean, listen, I mean, if I'd released that movie, I'd be very proud. And there's no doubt it's gained a lot of buzz and it's done very well critically and at the box office for the budget it had. So it will do well, for their careers. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Nikki Pooh says, have you ever used DaVinci Resolve when editing any films? Their free version has a studio for everything. DaVinci Resolve is my editing software of choice. It's what It's Me Billy Chapter 1 was edited on, and it's what Chapter 2 is being edited on as well. Now, we do have the studio version because we need all the bells and whistles that the free version does not have, although the free version has a lot of great stuff, but there's certain things that the free version doesn't have that we do need. So I do have the studio version, and I love it. I love it. I find it much easier to use in Adobe Premiere. I don't like Adobe Premiere. I don't know what it is. I use Adobe Audition for all my sound, but Adobe Premiere I found it. I don't know what it is. I find DaVinci's learning curve much easier, and yeah, it's just great. So I use DaVinci Resolve, and DaVinci Resolve is top tier pro. It's used on Hollywood films all the time. So it's a great piece of software. A great piece of, okay, did I get all the super chats? I believe I did. I got all the super chats. I got all the member chats, right? I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. I don't believe I am. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeed. The Hatchet Boy says, is It's Me Billy still being released in October? It is. Yep, it is. October 11th, Friday, October 11th, folks. I've made that. I know I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying that it's out there. Like, you can look at it on it. It's not a secret. If you know where to look, it's all over the promotional material. It's at the end of the teaser trailer. If you've watched the teaser to It's Me Billy Chapter 2, it says right there, October 11th, 2024. It's on IMDb. I've posted about it. So yes, Friday, October 11th, 2024 is when the movie will be released. So yeah. Let me see here. Let's see if I can get some people I haven't gotten before. Dream Villain says, definitely do not get the hype and thrill of movies these days. Too many leaks, and the internet has ruined life in so many ways. It's true. It's true. There's been so many disappointing. It's definitely the mystique is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say other than I agree with you. I do. I agree with what you're saying. And the thing that is so disappointing is that so many people want to know everything. But then they bitch and complain when a trailer shows them everything. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. Look, I saw the trailer for The Exorcism today. You know, the new Russell Crowe one. He did The Pope's Exorcist. Now he's doing one called The Exorcism. I think the premise is interesting. The premise of this movie, why call it The Exorcism? It's too close to The Exorcist. You know, I know it was originally called the Georgetown Project, but it was probably a studio decision. We've got to get the word exorcisms in there somewhere. We need to do it. People know it. Georgetown Project, what the hell is that? I get it. But I watched the trailer and I like the premise. Like, it's an interesting idea about this guy who's working on a supernatural movie and weird shit begins to happen. And there's that fine line between, is this real or is this just somebody who's falling back into, his old habits of, whatever it is, drug abuse, alcohol, whatever the case is. I like that premise. The trailer didn't do anything for me. There's moments of the trailer that I thought were kind of interesting. But overall, there's that moment where you get the typical, the contortion, the Russell Crowe, the contortionist. And I'm just like, is there a supernatural checklist? Like, does every studio go, I noticed you don't have a contortionist scene in here. Can you put one in, please? Maybe it's true. Again, I just thought the trailer was meh. It just looks like shit we've seen before. But maybe it'll be great. Maybe it will be great. But I do find, and I believe it was shot a few years ago. It was shot even before The Pope's Exorcist, I think. But I think maybe it ran into pandemic issues. I'm not sure. But yeah, he's got two. And the posters, they look very, very similar to each other. But one has nothing to do with the other. I don't know. I just think it's, to me, it just looks pedestrian. To me, I like the premise. I think it's an interesting idea. I'm rooting for it. I'm hoping for the best. I really am. I mean, I don't want these things to be, bad. I don't want the movie to be bad. But at the end of the day, it does nothing for me. And, it's very rare that a horror movie, I hate to say it, and I've said this before on the channel because part of me does feel bad. There's a lot of horror movies out there that I know there's a fair bit of my viewers would love that I talk about or that I could get excited about. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's my age. I'm not saying I'm old. I'll be 45 next month. I think as I've gotten older, and I've said this before on the channel, as I've gotten older, my tastes have changed. My tastes have matured. And there's just a lot of stuff that just doesn't interest me. If I was a movie reviewer, I'd have to watch it all, but I'm not. So I can pick and choose what I want to talk about. And it's like, have you seen this or have you seen Attack of the, this or, and I'll look it up and I'll be like, I don't care. To me, it just looks like crap. It just looks like the same shit. Or like, I just, like when that horror trailer for Longlegs came out, the teaser for Longlegs, that was great. That was a great fucking teaser. Now there's more material out there. There's more. And now it's settling into a little bit more pedestrian to me, but I'm still hoping it's really good. That's what I loved about Late Night with the Devil. I thought that was great marketing. And then I went to see it and I was like, okay, not as good as I was hoping it would be, but still enjoyed it. And I get accused of being picky. I get accused of being too picky and, and I know I am. I know I'm picky, but I'm very particular and I'm not, it's not that I can't enjoy mainstream horror. It's not that I can't enjoy it, but I got to be honest with you. I have no interest in Saw 55, Saw 36. Like, I just don't care. It's run its course for me. It's over, man. And now they've had to go back and start doing prequels because they fucked up by killing Jigsaw too early. Not Jigsaw, but but I mean, what's his face? But yet he's like 15 years older, and I'm just like, oh God, like, And I'm not, listen, if you're a big Saw fan, and I know that Saw 10 apparently was pretty good. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was pretty good. Okay. But like, you know, Saw 11, it's just like, and I'm just not one of those people. And it doesn't mean I can't watch them and have fun, but I think for me, as I've gotten older, my tastes have matured, and call me elitist or call me grumpy, call me persnickety, call me party pooper. I don't know. But there's so much of the same shit. And I see, like, I looked at the comments, and listen, film is subjective. Okay. What resonates with you is totally you, right? But I find it funny when I look at the comments of people on the Exorcism trailer, and there's some people that are losing their minds. They're like, "Oh, this film's fucking great. Yeah, it's fucking great. I'm there." And I'm just like, "It looks fucking great. What? You need to get out, man. It looks great." Or maybe I need to get out. Maybe it does look great, and I'm the one that needs to get out. Maybe I just need to shut the fuck up, and I'm the one. I don't know. But I don't know, man. That's why when I saw The Ritual, the Netflix movie from 2017 or whatever it was, oh man, I was like, this is fucking great. I was like, yes. Now that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Or The Night House. I'm like, yes. Yeah. You know, but those would be considered elevated as opposed to more of the, you know, mainstream sort of horror, I guess. But maybe that's where, or even The Invisible Man. I mean, I wouldn't consider that necessarily an elevated horror movie, but that was great. Leigh Whannell did such a great job with that. I love The Invisible Man. Blumhouse's Invisible Man. I love that movie. I think that's terrific. Like, that's a really good movie. But you look at how it was directed and how it was shot and the nuances and the pacing, you know, it's got that little more mature vibe to it, you know, not so falling on cliches and tropes, and it's just, I don't know. I just think that maybe there's, I know I went off on a tangent, but I do know, because there's lots of people that, you know, can you talk about the Hatchet series, or could you talk about, you know, I don't know, the Leprechaun series or whatever. And I feel bad. I don't really care to. I'm not knocking what you love. Like, if you love it, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's totally great. That's awesome. And I celebrate that. But for me, I'm just like, I'm not really into it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like how you might not really be into Black Christmas, right? I mean, I could sit here and talk about Black Christmas all day till the cows come home. And a lot of you guys would be like, yeah, I celebrate that you love it, Dave. And that's awesome. And your films are cool. And you did a great job. And this is awesome. But I don't care about Black Christmas. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing, right? There's a lot of things where I'm just like, you know, and it's just like, you know. Now, Black Christmas, to be fair, also didn't spawn a franchise, so it hasn't been in the zeitgeist in ways where maybe it could gain more of a mainstream following rather than a cult following. But nonetheless, there are a lot of horror movies out there that I do want to see, that I do want to talk about for sure. And but it's tricky. It's tricky finding that balance between what your viewers will get excited about and what you can get excited about. Because if I'm not excited to talk about it, it's going to show, right? Like, you saw how excited I was to talk about today's topic, because I know a bit about how all this works. And so I get jazzed to talk about it and offer my 2 cents. And, and so if a movie really resonates with me, I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that. But, like, you know, somebody asked me today, actually, are you going to talk about the Exorcism trailer? And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to talk about it. It didn't resonate with me to the point, like, I got to jump on and talk about that, right? It would be different if I was a movie news channel, right? Because then there's that expectation where, you know, you got to do that. But I'm just punditry. I'm just commentary. And so I really want to talk about things that I get excited about. And at the same time, there are a lot of you guys that recommend things I just haven't gotten to yet that do excite me, for sure. There's lots of things you guys have been like, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this? I'm like, oh, that's really good. couldn't snap there for a moment. That's really good. So definitely that exists too. I just got to get to it. It's just been such a busy time with Billy and, post-production and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it can be tricky, folks. It definitely can be a very tricky thing. All right. Hang on a sec here. Are we still, we're still live? Hang on. We're still live. Hang on a sec here. Looks like I believe we're still live, but it looks like oh, wait, not sure what's going on here. Am I still live? I can't, the chat room has frozen. OBS is still telling me I'm live. Let me go to my phone. I actually have to go to my phone. The actual chat has frozen. Let me go to my, hang on a sec here. Yes. Okay. So the chat room has frozen for me for some reason. I realized some more super chats came in. So I'm actually going to go to my phone to get these. Because for some reason, I don't know what's going on here. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I can do this. I got to go to my task manager, and my task manager is not opening up for me. So I'm not sure what's going on. Very strange. Very strange indeed. Okay, well, I got to wrap up the show soon anyway. So let me go to my, if I miss a super chat, my apologies. I'll get it on the next show. Movie Chat and More Part 2 sends in £2, says, didn't Ford take a buyout for Star Wars while Hamill didn't? Possibly. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look that up, Richard. Roberto Torres sends in $4.99, says, but Dave, thoughts on Jeepers Creepers? Watch along? Would you consider it a slasher? Probably my favorite behind Michael. Take care, man. Thank you, Roberto. The first Jeepers Creepers, I thought it was all right. Yeah, no, I like that movie. I thought it was okay. I'm not love it. Not a big fan of the franchise. Has nothing to do with Victor Salva, although that's an argument you could be made. I just am not a big fan of the later films. And a watch along? No, I don't do watch alongs on the channel. Tony Michael and I will only do we used to do a lot of them, but Tony Michael and I will only do a watch along. We're having enough trouble trying to align our schedules, but we will only do a watch along when it's for a particular reason for that show. I don't do watch alongs on McRae Live or just on my channel. I do watch alongs though. Are you a member? You are. I don't believe you are a member. I do watch alongs for my members, for my level 2 members. There is a show called Horror Movie Nights that we do once a month. We just did Friday the 13th Part 4. So if you love watch alongs, that might be something you might want to get in on. But the first Jeepers Creepers, yeah, I thought it was all right. It was all right. Matthew Farisi sends in $4.99, says, the marketing for Long Legs has me intrigued. They are being ambiguous and the tone seems really eerie. It does. There's a bit more of the marketing that's out there now that has kind of lessened the mystique for me. But the very first teaser trailer that they released was fantastic. Was really, really great. I really, really enjoyed that. Dustin Pritchard says, Dave, what are your plans after Billy 2? Are you planning on pitching any big budget films? I'm wondering if anyone has reached out to you about Nightmare on Elm Street after your performance. No, nobody's reached out to me about Nightmare on Elm Street, nor would I expect them to. It hasn't really, again, it's no, we'll just say that. There's still room. There's still time. There's other things in the works, but no. Billy 2, so after Billy 2, Bruce and I are shifting our focus to original projects. Bruce and I will not always direct together. We chose to direct the Billy projects together because it was something we decided to do from the ground up, to write, direct, produce the films. But Bruce and I have our own ideas as well that we're passionate about, that we would like to direct our own projects as well. That doesn't mean we won't co-direct again. We absolutely will. But we also have our own projects that we would like to direct too. And so that's what is next. I don't know what specifically is next. Obviously, there is that big project that is in development for me called Port Robinson Road that I would love to do. That might be next on the table. That's not necessarily going to be a crowdfunded thing. That is a feature film original project that I would absolutely intend on seeking distribution for. So whether that is What is next? I'm not entirely sure. But I will say that that is on the table. And I'm very excited about probably getting that going now. There is a script for it. It's going through rewrites as we speak, but there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. It just needs to be tweaked to my liking. That's a big project. And when I say a big project, it's it's more than what we made Billy for. Probably still an indie film. And then probably play the festival circuit and see what happens. But original projects, there will be no Billy 3. My goal in life is not to live in the world of fan films. And I don't say that as a knock to fan film, because obviously, we've been able to show what you can do with a fan film. It's just simply the stigma and the label around that. I mean, obviously, if you want to make any sort of career as a filmmaker, you can't just make fan films indefinitely, because you can't make any money from that and you can't seek distribution from that. So obviously we want to then now shift focus to original projects so we can actually make movies we can make money from and seek distribution for. Because Bruce and I made zero on the Billy projects. And I don't mean zero in the sense of, well, we made a little bit, but no, I mean actually zero. Legally, we are not allowed to make anything from it. So when I say that Bruce and I made zero, zilch, actually zero. I mean the actual zero. I'm serious. We made nothing, right? So as producers, we're allowed to raise money to make the movie, pay the actors, the crew, but we as producers are not allowed to make money from the movie. So we can't seek distribution. We can't sell it to, Prime, to Netflix, to Tubi, and, all that kind of stuff. So we can't do that. That's why it must go online on Vimeo, YouTube for free, wherever anybody can watch it for free. Well, you can't make a career doing that, and so we want to shift focus now and put the same amount of effort and time into making original projects that we can make money from and can seek distribution for. So Port Robinson Road is on the table. The film that we have a treatment for that a studio was talking to us about. That is still on the table. Whether that will be the next one, I don't know. There isn't a script for that. That is just a treatment at the moment. But it might be Port Robinson Road for me. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to be 45 this year, and maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. I've sort of, gotten some experience under my belt now, and maybe it's time now to really make a go at it with Port Robinson Road. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Oh yeah, I can't scroll on here for some reason. The whole thing, I don't know what's happened. Things have frozen. It's weird. It's very weird. I have a very powerful computer. When you're doing all sorts of editing like I am, you have to have an incredibly powerful machine, and I do, but for some reason, my Google Chrome has frozen, and probably a glitch somewhere. And so I got to look on here. Evil Monsterism says, Dave, what if a studio asked you to make Port Robinson Road Resurrection? Oh God, that would be awful. That would be awful. I can tell you right now, Port Robinson Road, it's a horror film. It's not a slasher movie. It is a supernatural film, but it's not, it's a mature film, right? It's more, I guess you could say it's a little more highbrow. But it would be dripping with my signature mood and atmosphere, and obviously having a lot more money to play with, you can do more things. And my intention is to make it really scary, 100%, psychologically so. But it is not designed to spawn a franchise. It's designed to be a one and done. Now, I mean, who knows? Whatever happens to it, if Port Robinson Road was to become this big, huge thing and make $200 million in the box office on a $10 million budget or something, I don't, we got to do a sequel. I don't know if I'd be interested in doing it because it's not my story. Like, Port Robinson Road is based on, of course it's based, you have to take certain creative liberties, okay? Because it is a movie after all, but it is based on a true life experience that I had with a bunch of my college friends when I was in college. Well, any sequel would be stories made up, right? So I'm really emotionally attached to Port Robinson Road, the movie I want to do, the story I want to tell. Again, you take creative liberties, obviously, because you have to make a movie out of it. You have to have it make sense. But any sequel that would come my way would be like, well, but now we are making everything up, right? And so I don't know if it might be a situation where maybe I'm, William Friedkin, and I'm just like, I'm not fucking doing that. It's a one and done, and it's done. And I might feel about that how he felt about The Exorcist, you know what I mean? But The Exorcist was so huge. Along came The Heretic. Oh my God, what's going to come? Port Robinson Road 2, The Heretic? Oh God, no! And then I hold out my hand and a check falls in and then I get paid. Maybe I'll just turn into John Carpenter. I don't know. You never know. All right. How many? I got, we'll go about another 5 minutes. Bobby Hall says, Frank, he's talking to Frank. The entire campaign was just about getting free shrimp and filet mignon for a few days. Yeah, no, that's true. Well, somebody asked me, actually, I forget who was asked, okay, so, were you able to pay yourselves for the week that you took off to make the movie? And the answer is no. Bruce and I don't know about Bruce because Bruce's salary. So he might have used one of his vacation weeks. So maybe Bruce got paid, not from the campaign. Maybe he got paid from his job, which is a job in the industry. For those of you that don't know, he does work in the industry. I don't know if Bruce used up one of his vacation weeks. So he would have, I think he gets paid because he's been there a long time. So maybe Bruce got paid that week to work, but he's not getting paid from the production, not out of the budget. He'd be getting paid from his. So maybe he was getting paid that week. I'm not sure. But me as an actor, as an independent contractor, I work for myself. I'm a voice actor. I can tell you that I wasn't getting paid that week. I didn't make any money that week. I took the week off. Now I'm fortunate that I can do that, but certainly I didn't get paid. And so no, we worked for, the job we were doing as directors and producers on the set, we were doing for free. But we love it, right? We're artists, we've worked in the business a long time and we really want to make a go and see if we can make a go at being filmmakers now. And we went to film school. We both did, Bruce has a degree in film. I didn't graduate, mind you, but I learned a lot. And that's my first love. My first love is movies, making movies. And of course, I'm a theatrical guy and I'm an actor and I love acting too. And as much as I love voiceover and I wouldn't change a thing, now in my mid 40s, I'm really starting to try and make a go as a filmmaker. And so it's been a hell of an experience and I've learned a lot. There's a lot I already know, obviously, by just working in the business. But there's a lot that I didn't know and there's a lot that I've learned. And I think I was a better director and filmmaker at the end of chapter 1 than I was before. And I think the same thing here too. I think I'm better than I was before. I think I'm better now than I was before because each experience, each project you grow from, you learn, you get better. And I only hope to continue to grow and get better. And, am I ready for Port Robinson Road? I might be, it'd be a big undertaking, but, hey man, you got to take those risks, right? You got to take those risks. Oh God, I was going to go to the chat again. It's frozen. All right. One more minute to go. ASE_music says, hey Dave, I know you're not a huge fan of the Scream sequels. Well, it's not that I'm not a huge fan of the Scream. I know what you're saying. I like them. I do. I just, overall, I just find them, they're fun. They're fun. I don't hate them, but I know what you mean. But what direction do you think they'll take with Scream 7? I don't know. I mean, wasn't there a rumor out there that it was going to focus on Sydney and her family? I don't know. What could we do? Right? What could we do? Or what could they do? I don't know. I really don't know, man. I think it's really, I think what they will likely do is you will see Sydney and Gail in this movie way more than you saw them in 5. Because Sydney kind of came in, 3/4 of the way through. I think this will likely be a Sydney focused movie to really, kind of get the fan base excited and drum up that excitement I think it will be, yeah. And I thought I heard rumors out there that it was going to be something to do with her family, but I don't know, man. Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on this episode of McRae Live. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with me as I did this show again, essentially, although I did do it a bit faster this time, and I think a little more on point. But it was a really interesting topic. I think it's a good topic to have out there, and hopefully you learned a thing or two here today. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate all of you and all the super chats that came in as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, of course, to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Thank you for doing what you do. I really, really appreciate it. I will be back soon for another episode of McRae Live. Maybe even before the weekend's out. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Depends how I feel. Depends what jazzes me and gets me excited. For my level 2 members, this Saturday at, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., our next episode of One Good Scare, the Halloween only show will be happening, and we're going to be perusing eBay for some crazy Halloween shit. We're just going to look at all sorts of Halloween stuff. That's this Saturday, members only, level number 2, episode 4, I think now we're on, of One Good Scare. Make sure you tune into that if you are not a member. It might be something you want to get in on. Have a great rest of your Thursday night, everybody. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.